All right, so welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us for our Google Introductory training session number 2. Today we are covering the basics of Google Docs. So in today's session, we will go over how to create a document, how to edit that document and then format it, including adding styles to your text, adding certain features like title, headings, and table of contents, as well as images and creating columns, and then adding footers and headers to the document as well. And then we will go over how to share and work with others, how to collaborate on that document in real time, and then how to print and download those files. So without further ado, I'm going to just switch up my screen. So first thing I need to do is log in to Google. So if you joined us in the Gmail class, you will know how to do that already. Some of you are familiar with this, so I'm just going to log in as Betty Buckles. And now I'm logged into Google, and I know that because my icon changes up here. So I want to start by creating a document. I can do this a couple of different ways. The easiest way is by going to your launcher, and this is the square with all the dots. And it's going to launch all of my different apps, and I'll choose Docs. Now from here, you can take a little tour, and it'll basically kind of show you around. And what I want to do is start by creating a blank document. There are lots of different templates here. You can go through the template gallery and find ones that are created by Buckles, and then there are also general templates. I'm just going to go back so I can just start a new document, and I'll click blank here. So now that document exists within my Google Drive, and this one is owned by me, and I can just start typing. So the first thing I want to do is title my document. So I'm going to call it document title. And maybe there is a little subtitle that I want to kind of better explain it. So I will add that underneath it. And you're going to see a lot of this dummy text today because I'm just going to do a lot of copying and pasting so that you don't have to sit here and watching me type everything. So, and the next thing I want to do is think about the text that I'm going to add. And for the purpose of this class, I'm going to be organizing this text with different headings. And there are different levels of headings, and basically I'm going to help use the features of Google to help me best format that after I type in all the information. So the first thing I'm going to do is add my first section. Let's call this section 1 and call it heading. And then I have lots of, let's use this dummy text under here. I have lots of text I'm going to put under here, and this is just explaining what's happening in my section 1. And then I have section 1, but let's call this subheading. And then I'm going to separate this again into section 1, subheading 2. So basically, I've got kind of the main section of this document, a little description about it, and then I've got a lower heading and then something even below that. And I want to just add some link text. That's for later. We're going to review that in a minute. And then I have a bullet point here, so I'm going to start my bullet point. So this is just all word processing. So I'm just basically putting all of my information on the page. I'm going to start my next one. I'll add those there. Cool. So far, so good. We're just adding text, and nothing looks all that great. We're going to format that in a minute. Let's start a new one. So I'm going through I've added my bullet points, and the best way to do that is just by clicking this icon up here, the little numbers. And if you click on the drop down, you'll see there's lots of different ways to format your bullet points. So as I do this, I've added them. I decided I actually don't like the way that looks. I'm going to change it. I want to use the A, B with the parentheses. So, oh, now that I'm looking at that, I don't really like that. I'm going to go back up here again and maybe choose this one. I think I was best off with the first one. So you can edit as you go, or you can go back and change the format once you're done. Everything in Google Docs saves automatically. So as I'm creating these changes, the document is saving and updating automatically. So I don't have to worry about going up to File and choosing Save each time. It's constantly saving in real time. So that's one piece that you can kind of take off of your anxiety list when creating a document. You don't have to worry about going back and saving it. So I'm kind of happy with this. I have this piece here. I don't really like that. I need to get rid of that and start my next section. So just backspace over until I get to the next section. And let's call this section 1, subheading 3. And maybe we do the same thing. Give it a couple of bullet points. Instead of the numbers, I have also these bullet points here. You can choose a nice style. And I'm going to choose the one with the arrow. Add a little bit of information. And as I click return, it automatically updates that for me and adds that style. And then if I click return twice, it'll get me right out of that bullet point. So I don't have to worry about backspacing or deleting something. So I just clicked return twice or enter twice, and it got me out here. So far, so good. I'm liking the way this is looking. It's got a nice subheadings. It's got a lot of information, but it doesn't have style and it's hard to follow. So what I want to do is add some style to this or add some formatting. So the first thing, the easiest part, is the document title. So if I highlight this or even just click within it, and then up here, there's a little drop down where it says normal text, and this is all of your styles. And if you noticed, as I hovered over it, it tells me that is my style menu. So I'm going to click on that and I'll choose title. And now automatically that title wording is formatted to be the title of the document. I'm also going to center that. So I'm going to choose here to center align that. And that's the one right in the middle. And that puts it right in the middle of my document. If you notice, this is my document title, and I'm just going to scroll over here or bring my cursor up here so you notice the title of the document has not changed. It's still called Untitled Document. So now that I've created a title here, if I just click within here, it'll automatically update that for me, and it tells me it's saved in my drive. So that's a great, easy way to title your document. You've created the document title in the actual document. Just click up here and it'll automatically save that for you up there. If at a time I decide that I want to change the name up here so it's easier to search, I can do that just by clicking within it and adding my edit here. And then as I click away, it automatically saves it. And if you notice up here in my tab, the name of the title is exactly the same as the name here. But the title name in my document hasn't changed. Now this was a subtitle here, so I'm going to just click within that subtitle and notice that there is an option within my style text or my styles options to create a subtitle. So there it is there. I'm going to change that. And then center align it so it fits better within that heading or within that title. And we're going to create a title page with all of these headings. So now we have our first section. So within section, I have a heading here and I have a nice heading 1. So I'm going to apply that. And then my section 1 here with the subheading, let's call that heading 2. So I'll apply that there. And then here, let's do the same thing, but let's add the next heading down, which is heading 3. So as I do this, if you notice in the left-hand side, or a little summary, it's automatically formatting everything. So it will tab in so that it's more easily readable. And if I click on any of these, they act as little bookmarks or little links that bring me to that section. This is really helpful when you have a really long document and you're creating a table of contents. Instead of scrolling up to the table of contents every time, you can just click on the subject or the heading over here. I had one more of those headings, and let's click the next one down. So here's our section 1. This is our main heading, and that is, if you notice, heading 1. And this is our section 1 subheading, so that's heading 2. And here's the same thing here. Actually, we decided we were going to call it the same thing. No, that's subheading 2, so that's heading 3 up here. And then again, this is the next level down. So all of those pieces within my summary match what's happening within the document. Now, again, I can change all of this to look different. So the first thing let's do is change the color. So I'm going to change the color of this to blue. And let's change this color so so that it stands out. And let's change that one. And all I'm doing is highlighting it, and I'm going up to the A within our toolbar up here, and that A has a little bar of color underneath it, and it's showing you the current color. So if you notice, the bar underneath is black, and you see as I hover, it says text color. And that's because this text right here is black. And if I was to hover or highlight this, that text is that kind of cranberry color. So I'll highlight all of this, and to highlight it, I'm dropping my cursor at the beginning. I click on it, hold the button down, and then drag it across everything that I want to change the color. So, and now I'll go up to that text color, click on it, and I'm going to choose a color that I want as that new heading color. Let's choose, I think this one will be okay to read. So now we have one more. I think I like the way this is, but I want to maybe bold it so it sticks out a little bit more. So I've chosen the bold item here. So it's starting to look more like a nice document, easier to read. Here's my first section. It's clear that these are all subheadings. And I had this little link text here. So I want to add a link to this. So there's a little icon up here that looks like a chain link. So I'm going to click on that. And that is where I will paste in my link or my URL. So just to go over that again, I drop my cursor in the front, I drag it across, I hold it down and drag it across to highlight it. And so now I'm going to click that chain link icon, and I'm telling it, let's add a link to all of that text. And let's just go to buckles.org and click apply. Now this link is clearly a link. It's underlined and it changes the color to blue. If I were to click on it now, you'll see the link underneath. I can either copy that, I can edit the link, I can remove the link here, or if I just click on it, it will automatically open that site within a new tab. So when any of my users or anybody who's reading this document clicks on that link here, it will open a new tab for them. And so it won't take them away from this document. It'll keep them right on the document while opening the tab for them. So far my document's looking pretty good. One of the things that I think is missing, I have an image I would like to add in here, and let's put it as the second tab. I want to add an image. Now, if I just put my cursor here and I click enter, it's going to add another bullet point, but I don't want a bullet point here. I actually just want an image that goes with this information. So I'll go back to that again. If I hold down Shift and then click enter, it will give me a new line here. So without adding a new bullet point. So I just held down Shift on my keyboard and clicked or then hit the enter button or the enter key, and now I've got a new line. And here I want to add an image. So in order to add an image, if you go up to the insert option within the main toolbar, you'll see the very first one says image. And there's lots of different ways that you can get an image. You can upload it from your computer. You can search on the web to find one that you want. And then there's also your drive or your photos. Or if you have the URL for the image, you can add it that way. Or if you have your camera attached, you can also do it that way. Or you can take one. If you have a laptop, a lot of times it'll take a picture for you. So what I'm going to do is upload one from my computer. So I upload a computer. Now I just need to, let's navigate to here. And I'm going to add this one. And when I add it, it's really big. And I don't think it needs to be that big. See what it does to my document. It kind of drops everything down. So if I click on it, now new options for the image appear. So I can actually change the size of this. I put my cursor right over one of the corners, and I click on it and drag it up, and it changes the size of that image. I think that looks pretty good. But maybe I want it to stand out a little bit more. So I need to add a border and change the color. So in the top, again, back to this toolbar, you have the border color, and right next door, you have the border weight. And then you also have different line options here. So the first thing I want to do is add a border. So I'm going to change the color, and let's say black. I like black. And it's a little thick, so I'm going to change the border weight. And if you notice it's 2 points there, I'm going to change it down to 1 point. And that looks pretty good. But maybe I want to change it to a dashed line. I don't really like that dashed line, so I'll go back up again and choose the solid line. And I think that's pretty good. It shows nicely. If you want, you can click on that image and then you can align it, center align it if you need to, or right align. So you can always justify basically anything that's within here. And if you notice, as I did that, it also pulled the bullet point that was ahead of it. So I added this line to this bullet point. It basically owns or belongs to this bullet point. So whatever I do to this image, it's also going to do to the text that appeared before it. So I want to make sure that that is true, that I really want that to happen. In this case, I don't think that looks great. So I'm going to just left align that again, and it fixes everything. Now, if I had there are other options as far as your image. If you click on the image, if you notice all these other options come back or come up, so I can replace that image here. Or if I choose image options, we have a new menu that appears. This is where you can change the size or rotate it if you want to choose a specific size, or to scale it down or up. That's basically the same thing as when I dragged it. And this is a really good one, the text wrapping. So if you want the text to wrap around the image, if I click on that, you'll see what happens. The rest of it just wraps around it. If I then change this image to a right alignment, then all the text will go to the left side. I can also break the text so it appears right in between, or keep it in line with the text. And if you notice, it just becomes basically like another text piece. I like the breaking it, and that's what it does. So there's lots of options with those images. You can change position, recolor it, and make all kinds of adjustments. So definitely check those out as well. So this is looking a little bit better. And for argument's sake, I'm going to just copy lots of text. I want to put this into the next section so we can go over that. So I need to post or paste a bunch of text in here, but it's going to show up in a couple of different pages. So what I want to do first is start a new page, because the text that I'm going to put in now, I want to appear on a brand new page. So first thing I need to do is insert a page break. So it's under break, under insert and break, I can choose page break, and it will start a new page for me. Now, instead of watching me type everything, I'm just going to paste it in here. And it's following basically the same format that we had before. So here's my heading, and I have a new section, and these are all the subsections here, the subheadings. And if you've noticed, I've created 2 columns here. So in order to do that, I'm just going to undo that so you can see. So this is what it would look like if I just added it as one, like we did before, right? But I want to actually get this to all appear on one page within 2 columns. So I'm going to select all of the text that I want to appear in those 2 columns. And then under format, you'll see a column section, and you can choose how many columns you want. Now, you can add more if you want to, and there's lots of different options there, but I'm just going to add 2. So they all appear on this one page. And this is great if you're doing some kind of like articles, or if you're doing a newsletter and you're using a word processing application like Google Docs. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. If you notice, when I added that, all of the new sections were added as well. I want to find out what this is and why that is. So this is marked as a heading, and I don't want that to be a heading. I don't want it to show up here in the summary. So I'll change the style again, and I'm going to choose normal text this time. That way it just shows up as normal text. I don't have to really worry about it appearing in the summary. And it does look a little different. So if I highlight parts of this, you'll see that my font is Overpass and the size is 10. But if I highlight this part, it's Arial font and the size is 11. So that kind of conflicts with the rest of my document. So what I want to do is make this appear the same way. So I could go up here, here and choose the font and then choose the size. Or if I know that this is the look that I want, I can also choose this icon right here. And this is basically going to copy the formatting of this text, and then I can apply it to this text. Now, because we know that this is called normal text, and this is what it looks like, right? I can apply that right here the same way I did before. And I'm going to apply normal text, and that automatically changes it for me. Let's do some copying that format. Now I'm going to highlight it here, and it changes it to look the same. So when you are using the styles dropdown, just know whatever is saved within here is what's going to appear when you highlight your text and choose one of these. So as I highlight this and I choose normal text, it changes this because whatever saved up here looks like this. It has the Arial font and it is size 11. And if I want, what I can do is change that to look just like this one. So I highlight here, which is Overpass 10. I'm going to choose or hover over next normal text, and I'm going to update normal text. So no matter where normal text exists on this document, it will look like that. So if you see this updated right away. So you have a lot of control over your styles. So you can choose your styles and then update everything in the rest of the document. So this is my section 2. and this is if you see a heading 3. I like the way this looks. I'm going to update all heading 3s to match. So that should have changed my heading up here. Oh, we didn't have a heading 3. So we had a heading 2. So I'm going to update my heading 2 to match. And here it is. It looks great. So when you are applying, and if you notice they changed here too in my menu. So when you're applying your headings and everything, make sure that you update your styles so that's easier to, as you add more text to your document, it's easier to update those styles. So I think this looks pretty good. The one thing that we're missing now is a table of contents. So I want to add a table of contents here. So I'll put my cursor right there, and I'm going to insert, and all the way at the bottom we have table of contents, and I can either add one with page numbers or add it with blue links. And I like the page numbers, so I'm going to choose that one. And here it is. Automatically it tells me what page everything is on, and it's also formatted to look just like the rest of my document. A lot of extra space here. I don't really want that, so I'm just going to get rid of it. And I did that by putting my cursor there and then clicking or hitting the delete button. So I think that looks pretty good as a document. We added an image. We added styles to all of our headings. We added a link. Now, if I want to give somebody access to this document and allow them to read the document or to comment on it, I need to be able to share this document with them. So I'm going to go up to this share button up here on the top right-hand corner. And if you notice, it tells you who it's shared with. You can simply get a link, so you can copy the link by clicking on it. And I can copy that link and then send that link to somebody, or I can add them. So I'm going to send this to Wendy Wyckoff. I added her name in here. It's going to notify her. I can add a message if I want to. And then I'm going to allow her to, let's say she's a commenter rather than a viewer or an editor. It's just going to allow her to edit that document. I'm going to just say she can comment on it. And then I'll send it. So right away, she'll be notified. And I'm just going to flip over to her email, refresh the email. Here it is. Betty Buckles has shared a document. I'll open that document. And here's that document we were just looking at. And if you notice up in the top right-hand corner, there it is. There's Betty. She's working on the document as well. Now, if I want to make suggestions to this, if I highlight a portion, a couple of options come up. I can add a comment or I can add a reaction. So I'm going to add a comment. I'm going to suggest that she change it to title of document, and I'll click comment. So I'm going to flip back over to Betty. So you see, here it is. Here's that comment. It shows up. This is what Wendy is suggesting. We suggest that it's title of document. And I'm going to say, thanks very much. It's resolved. I could also respond to her. There's lots of different options within the sharing here. So we'll also see Wendy is working on the document at the same time. So everybody can work on this simultaneously, and it saves automatically. I just want to say that one more time. Everything is saved automatically. So within the commenting and editing, you'll see everything in real time. So the last thing we need to do is now print this document and download the file if I want. So there's a print icon right here. I can print this document and it'll give me my options for my printers. I can also, under File, I can make a copy of it. I can email it to somebody, and just so you know, when you email this to somebody, it will make a copy of the document. It will not be this exact one, so it will make a copy. I can download it. Now I can download it in all these different ways. So if I can download it as a Microsoft Word document, and it will try to reformat it into Microsoft Word. Sometimes it's perfect, other times not so much. So you'll have to look at it again when you open it in Microsoft Word. And the other most common one is downloading it as a PDF. So you can download this as a PDF and save it that way. So lastly, I want to just show you where this document now lives. It now lives within my Drive. So we're going to go over the Google Drive in another session, but I want to just show you, since I made it, that it exists there. So let's go open a new tab. I'm going to go back to that launcher here and choose Drive. If you see, here it is, document title edit. And I know that's what it is because that's what I titled it up here. Now, if I change this, if I change the name, it does not change down here, it's just changing up here, and I go back to my Drive, notice that the name of that document has changed down here as well. I can also share the document right from here by right-clicking and choose Share. I will see who it's shared with. I can also change that person's permission, so I can make Wendy now an editor. And then I can add more people or groups. So if you belong to like a committee and you belong to that committee group, you can type in the group's email address here and share it with them. I'll click Save. And if I flip over to Wendy again, I'm going to see that as an editor, I have a little bit more, a few more options. So now, as I change that, it's going to cross out what the old one, type in the new one, and I'm suggesting this to Betty. So I'm suggesting it to the owner of the document. And as Betty, as the owner of the document, I see Wendy's suggestion here, and I like that suggestion. It's saying, would you like to replace it? I'm going to say yes, I want to accept it, or I can say no, I want to reject it. I'm going to say yes, and it will automatically update that for me. So it's a really great way to collaborate with others on one single document without having to download it, email it, change it, and email it back. Okay, I know I went over time today, and I apologize for that. I'd like to open this up to questions now.
Joseph?
Yes.
We received a few questions in advance during registration. There's
Okay.
a couple questions in the Q&A box. Mm-hmm. And if anyone has any other questions, please type them into the Q&A box. If you do need to leave for another commitment, that's perfectly fine. Otherwise, Joseph will answer the questions that have been posed. So during registration, we had a question. The design capabilities of Google Docs seem to be very limited. Is there a way to make Google Docs more like Word or Publisher? And I think you briefly touched upon this.
Yeah, just keep in mind that Google Docs is a word processing application. It's not really a design application. It doesn't work the same way as like Publisher does, or say something like an Illustrator or something like that. So keep in mind it is for word processing, but there are a few things that you can do, like when you're adding your images or you're changing the layout of things, and those options do exist within Google Docs. You basically just kind of have to dive a little bit deeper. Luckily, the Tech Committee is planning to have some follow-ups to these sessions, so they'll probably dive a little bit deeper in how you can do that. But that was not to be covered today. I apologize.
We also had, I'll say, a general question. Need help naming and organizing?
Okay. So I'm assuming you're talking about like naming and organizing your documents in folders and things within your Drive. And that is definitely something that we're going to go over when we do the Google Drive training session. So definitely come back for that, and we'll cover that within here.
Okay, thank you.
You're
In the
welcome.
Q&A box, I think you just covered this.
Mhm.
Is there any way to do a mock-up of publisher in regular documents?
Do you mean like download it as a publisher um, document? This one, these are the options here as far as downloading it into other types, but you may be able to do it like as an EPUB. You may be able to then convert it into publisher from there. You could also just try opening your document once you've downloaded it as either a PDF or as a publisher or an EPUB. You may be able to download it that way and then open it up into Publisher. I'm not quite sure about Publisher. I don't really use Publisher very much.
Okay, so Maureen, hopefully that answered your question. If not, at the end, we'll ask you to unmute and you can elaborate. Here's a good question. Can a link be any color but blue?
Yes, the link can be any color you want it to be. So this is the most common color, which is why it automatically makes it that blue. And if you notice, if you read anything anywhere on the internet, it is blue. That is the color of a link because that's what users know, and that is the most commonly used color for links. But you can just highlight that and go up to this text color and choose a different color if you want to.
Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this question goes back to when you linked to the Buckles website. How do you change linked text to buckles.org?
So if I go ahead and there's a couple of different ways I can do it, but the best way, once it's already linked, if I just put my cursor within that text and then I click on the edit link icon right here, it looks like a little pencil. And then here is the text that's going to appear on the page. And here is the web address or the URL. So I can change this to Buckle's website, click apply, and it will change it here, but keep the link.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you download a Word document to Google Docs?
Yes. So when you have your when you have your Word document and you're starting a new document, there's a couple of different things you can do. So I'm just going to go back to my drive because it's a good view. And I click that new or add new Google Docs. If I just click Google Docs here, it's going to create a new Google Doc. If you drag your document into your drive, your Word document into your drive, and then open it from there, it'll give you an option to open up into Google Docs rather than Word. I want to just give you an example. So here's my Finder, right? Here's my Word document. You can see it, it's got a big W. I'm going to drag that into my drive, and we will also go over this in the drive session. Now, it is still a Word document. I'm going to double click on that and open it up. So it is opening in Google Docs, but if you see at the end of my title, it says .doc. It means it is a Microsoft Word format. So it tells me that as I hover over it. Now, if you notice, it does not look great. It looks a little funky because it's not apples to apples. So it's not exactly the same. But I'm going to convert this to a Google Doc. So under File, you can save it as a Google Doc. So under File, scroll down to Save as Google Doc. I'll click on that, and it will open a new version of it. And this is a Google Doc. So if I go back to my drive, I will now have 3 documents. The one we created today, this is the Word document that I just added to my drive, and then this is the Google Docs version of it. So like I said before, it's not apples to apples, so it will look a little funny. So you might have to go in and actually update it once you make it a Google Doc.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a notation from Joanne. Google Drawings is very similar to Publisher.
Yeah, and you can actually use drawings within your Google Doc. You can actually add drawings to it. So if you go to Insert and Drawing, you can start a new one or grab it from your files or from your drive. So if you've already created a Google drawing, you can actually add it into your Google Doc.
Great. What is the easiest way to make the font style and size the same throughout a 137-page document?
I want everything to be exactly the same. So
Yes.
I'm going to press Control A on my keyboard. So that selects everything. And now I have to go up to my font, choose a font, and I have to choose a size. And now everything in the document is exactly the same size and the same font. Oh, and we wanted to change the color, right? So let's do it all again. Here's my color. Now everything is the same color. Oh, and I've got some things that are bold and some things that aren't, so I need to change that again. So I'm going to click all, bold, and then unbold so that everything gets unbolded as well. That is the best way to do anything all. Hit
Awesome.
Control A on your document.
Awesome. Do you need a Gmail address to share documents?
You do not need a Google or Gmail address to share documents. You do need a Gmail address in order to create your document. So you need to store it in your drive and everything. But if you want to share it with somebody who does not have a Gmail address, they do not need to have one. It will open up in a new tab for them. So they don't need to have one.
Okay. And we're coming up to the last question in the Q&A box. If anybody has any other questions, please type them in. And Maureen, hopefully your question was answered with the reference to Publisher. If not, we'll ask you to unmute after this question. Can you specify a timeline so that it can only be shared for a certain period of time?
That is a good question. I will have to get back to you on that as far as specifying a specific time. But what I can do if I know I need to unshare it with somebody, I can go open up that sharing dialog again, or the dialog box, and then next to their name in this dropdown, I can remove the access. Oh, here you go, add expiration. So I can add the expiration. I've actually never done that. So you can add an expiration here. So let's try doing that. So there you go. I can make it expire on the 29th, 11:59, and choose save. Thank you for bringing that up. That was great.
Great. And we did have one other question. It actually pertained to the last class. If you have a minute to talk about creating and adding a signature.
Oh, sure. Go over to my Gmail. I'm going to open a new tab. And just so you all know, to open a new tab, I just did Control T on my keyboard, and that opened a new tab within my browser. I'm going to go to my Gmail. And then under Settings, see All Settings. If you scroll all the way down within the General, which is the default, within General tab, I scroll all the way down to Signature. And this is where you're going to create your signature. We created one within our series, our session last week. Here's my signature, but maybe you want a new one. And you want to add in maybe a vacation signature. I'll name it, click create, and then that's my signature. And then I just need to save this, scroll down and click Save Changes. You have to save changes in your signature, otherwise, or in your settings, otherwise it does not get saved. So I'm just going to go back to my settings and scroll down. And I have now two signatures. One is the default and one is called vacation. Now, the default is the one that it's set to use for all new emails. I've set it to default. I could now change it to vacation if I'm going on vacation, or on replies or forward. We chose not to have a signature, but you can choose one of these if you'd like. Hope that answers your question.
Great. And we actually have a few more questions, Joseph.
Okay.
Can you review adding a link again?
Yeah.
What if it is new?
Like a brand new link. So, I also want to show you one other thing. So I'm going to add a new link. So I'm going to just choose a bit of text here. Highlight that text. Again, I click my mouse, I hold it down, and I drag it over. And that highlights that. I could also, since this is one word, I could double click on it and it highlights it. Now I'm going to add a link. So I click on the icon up here where it says insert link. Looks like a little chain link. And now we need to add a link to this. And we did buckles.org. And I click apply. And that automatically becomes a link. If I click on it, here's the link. I can edit that link. I can copy it, or I can remove the link. In a related note, if you want to, we talked before about sharing the document with people. If you want to share the document with somebody and have it go directly to a specific area within the document, you can create a bookmark. So say I want to share the document, but I want, when they click on the link, I want it to go directly to this section. So I highlight this section heading, and I'm going to click insert, and then all the way at the bottom you see bookmark. Now it's created a bookmark out of this section. So if I click on that and I copy it, now I'm just going to open a new document, new tab, and I put that link URL right there. And now I'm going to go to the link. It automatically brings me right to that bookmark. It's a really great way to kind of like send somebody right to the information that they're looking for.
Awesome, awesome. Once you share a document with someone, are they then able to share with other people?
It depends on what kind of permissions you give them. So as a commenter or viewer, and it also depends on what type of sharing settings are set. So let me just say that one more time. So I'm going to go to sharing. Yeah, we got this. So I can change what kind of settings are here. So right now, if you see, only people who are added can open with this link. So you have to be added to this in order to actually view it. Even if somebody sends you the link, you have to be on this list. And only editors are really allowed to add, and owners are allowed to add people. So I can change this by clicking on here, and I can change who can see it. I can restrict it even more, or I can add anyone with the link and view it. I can have them comment or become an editor. So now anyone with the link, with this link right up here, can view this. So that means anybody who now is looking at this document, if they share the link, anybody who has the link is going to be able to look at it. But if you really want to restrict it, only people added will be able to open the link. Now this is only people within the Buckles system with the link. So all of the settings are done within that share button.
Great. So I'd like to thank Joseph Palmer, our Web Development and Product Coordinator, for another great class. Our next class in this series is Monday the 20th at 10 o'clock. The subject is Google Sheets. I would also like to thank our directors, staff, trustees, and friends of the library for attending. And a reminder, if you signed in with a non-descriptive name or just first name or something, please email me to let me know that you attended. And certificates for everyone who attended all 8 classes will be sent after the series is over.